Hey there, welcome back to Powerful Stoic Way. Let's be real. One of the most confusing things in modern dating is when someone who ignored you suddenly reaches out again. Maybe they ghosted you, maybe they lost interest and disappeared, or maybe they thought they could find someone better. But now, out of nowhere, they're back. They text you, call you, or slide into your DMs like nothing happened. And this is where most people mess up. See, your reaction in this moment determines everything. If you make the wrong move, you could end up being used, disrespected, or stuck in a toxic cycle. But if you handle it correctly, you regain power, self-respect, and even leave them questioning their own actions. That's exactly what I'll help you do today. We're breaking down the biggest mistakes people make when an ex or someone who ignored them reaches out again. So before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we drop life-changing content every week. Now, let's get into it. Mistake 1. Responding too quickly out of excitement. When someone who ignored you suddenly contacts you again, your emotions can take over. You might feel a mix of excitement, relief, and even a sense of validation. After all, you may have spent days, weeks, or even months wondering if they would ever reach out again. Now that they have, your first instinct might be to reply immediately, to show them that you're happy they're back. But here's the truth. This is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. In today's world of instant communication, quick responses signal emotional availability. And while being available isn't necessarily a bad thing, being too available to someone who ignored you before gives them the upper hand. When you reply within seconds, you send the message that you were waiting for them all along. This makes you look predictable and easy to control, and in many cases, it reduces their attraction or interest in you. Imagine Sarah was dating Jake for a few months. Things were going well, but suddenly Jake stopped texting as much. Over time, he completely disappeared. No explanation, no closure, just silence. Sarah was hurt, but eventually started focusing on herself. She improved her fitness, spent time with friends, and even started dating other people. Then, 3 months later, out of nowhere, Jake messages her, "Hey, I miss you." Sarah, feeling excited and validated, replies within seconds saying, "OMG, I missed you too. How have you been?" The conversation flows, but Jake seems a little distant. He takes longer to respond, doesn't show much effort, and within a few days he stops texting again. Why? Because the moment Sarah replied so quickly and eagerly, Jake felt that he never really lost her. There was no challenge, no sense of mystery. He knew she was still emotionally available, so he lost interest again. This happens all the time in modern dating. Social media, instant messaging, and read receipts have made it easy for people to check if you're still emotionally attached. If someone ghosted you and then returns, they often just want to test if they still have influence over you. The moment you respond too quickly and too warmly, you confirm that they do. Instead of rushing to reply, pause and take your time. If you're busy, focus on your work, hobbies, or social life. Let them wonder what you're up to. If you do decide to reply, keep it cool and neutral. A simple, "Oh hey, long time, what's up?" keeps the conversation open but doesn't give away your excitement. More importantly, observe their behavior. Are they genuinely trying to reconnect, or are they just checking if they can still manipulate your emotions? If they're serious, they'll put in consistent effort. If not, they'll disappear again once they see that you're still emotionally available. This one simple change, not responding too quickly, can completely shift the dynamic in your favor. It creates curiosity, maintains your self-respect, and ensures that if they really want you back, they'll have to prove it through their actions. Mistake 2. Acting like nothing happened. One of the biggest mistakes people make when someone who ignored them returns is pretending like nothing ever happened. It might seem easier to just go with the flow, avoid confrontation, and act as if their disappearance wasn't a big deal. But here's the problem. When you act like their behavior was acceptable, you are silently giving them permission to do it again. Many people fall into this trap because they fear that addressing the issue will scare the person away. They think, if I bring up what happened, they might leave again. But let's be honest, if someone disappears on you without an explanation and then comes back, shouldn't they be the one worried about losing you? If they truly care, they will take responsibility for their actions instead of expecting you to pretend like everything is fine. Take Daniel and Lisa, for example. Lisa had been dating Daniel for about 3 months when he suddenly started pulling away. His texts became less frequent, his calls stopped, and eventually he disappeared completely. Lisa was confused and hurt, but instead of chasing after him, she focused on herself. Then, 2 months later, Daniel texted her out of nowhere. "Hey, how have you been?" Lisa was still hurt, but deep down, she was happy to hear from him. She didn't want to ruin her chances by bringing up the past, so she acted like nothing happened and replied with a cheerful, "Hey, I've been great. How about you?" The conversation picked up, and they started talking again. But soon, Lisa noticed a pattern. Daniel was still inconsistent. He would text her when he was bored, disappear when he wanted, and never acknowledged that he had ghosted her in the first place. By not addressing his past behavior, Lisa unknowingly set a precedent. He could come and go as he pleased, and she would always be there waiting. She thought she was being easygoing, but in reality, she was making it easy for him to repeat the cycle. People who ignore or ghost you and then return often do so because they assume they still have access to you. They don't expect consequences because they believe you'll just welcome them back with open arms. If you don't acknowledge their disappearance, you allow them to avoid accountability, which makes it more likely that they'll leave again when it's convenient for them. Additionally, acting like nothing happened shifts the power dynamic in their favor. Instead of them worrying about how you feel, they get to dictate how the interaction goes. If they truly value you, they should be the ones making an effort to earn your trust again. If someone who ignored you reaches out again, don't let them sweep the past under the rug. You don't need to be aggressive or confrontational, but you should acknowledge the situation in a calm and confident way. A simple response like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting to hear from you after all this time. What's up?" is enough to subtly remind them that they left without a word. This approach does 2 things. 1. It puts the responsibility on them. If they genuinely care, they will acknowledge their actions and explain why they disappeared. 2. It forces them to prove themselves. Instead of assuming they can just pick up where they left off, they will realize that they need to earn your trust again. If they give you a genuine explanation and show real effort, you can decide whether they deserve another chance. But if they ignore your concerns or act like nothing happened, that's a red flag, and a sign that they'll likely disappear again when it suits them. You don't owe anyone blind forgiveness. If they walked away once, they need to prove that they won't do it again. By acknowledging their past actions, you set a boundary that demands respect. Don't be afraid to hold people accountable. Your time, emotions, and self-worth are too valuable to be treated like an option. Mistake 3. Seeking an explanation immediately. It's natural to want answers when someone who ignored you suddenly comes back. Your mind fills with questions like, why did they leave? Was it something I did? Are they back because they regret it? The urge to demand an explanation right away can be overwhelming. But here's the harsh truth. Pressuring them for answers too soon often pushes them away again. When people ghost or ignore you, they usually do it for selfish reasons. Maybe they were talking to someone else, felt overwhelmed, or simply lost interest at the time. When they return, their main goal is often to test the waters rather than give a full confession. If you immediately ask, "Why did you ghost me?" or "What happened?" they might feel cornered, defensive, or even annoyed. Instead of giving you a real answer, they may make up excuses, downplay what happened, or ghost you again just to avoid confrontation. Take Ryan and Sophia, for example. Sophia had been seeing Ryan for a few months when he suddenly stopped replying to her messages. No argument, no reason, just complete silence. She was confused and hurt, but eventually stopped thinking about him. Then, 6 weeks later, Ryan texted her, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." Sophia, still holding on to the pain of being ignored, immediately asked, "Why did you disappear on me?" Ryan, caught off guard, gave a vague answer. "Oh, I was just going through some things." The conversation became awkward, and within a few messages, Ryan disappeared again. This time, for good. What went wrong? Sophia's question wasn't unreasonable, but the timing was off. Instead of letting Ryan show through his actions whether he was serious about reconnecting, she made him feel pressured for an explanation he wasn't ready or willing to give. This shifted the power dynamic back in his favor, allowing him to escape accountability. Instead of immediately seeking answers, let their actions reveal their intentions. If they genuinely care, they will make consistent efforts to rebuild trust. A better response than asking, "Why did you ghost me?" would be something neutral like, "Oh, hey, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. What made you reach out?" This approach does 3 things. 1. It keeps the conversation light and in your control. 2. It forces them to explain themselves without feeling attacked. 3. It allows you to observe their behavior instead of just trusting their words. If they dodge the question, give excuses, or disappear again, you have your answer without even asking. But if they show genuine remorse and put in the effort to make things right, then, and only then, should you consider giving them another chance. Not everyone who comes back deserves an explanation from you, or even your time. Instead of demanding answers, watch what they do, not just what they say. The right person won't just return, they'll prove why they deserve to stay. Mistake 4. Trying too hard to impress them. When someone who ignored you comes back, it's tempting to prove that you've changed, improved, or become better without them. You might want to show them that you're more successful, more attractive, or that you have an exciting life. Maybe you think that by impressing them, you'll make them regret leaving, or ensure they won't disappear again. But here's the reality. Trying too hard to impress them actually gives them the upper hand. When you go out of your way to prove yourself, it signals insecurity rather than confidence. It tells them that their absence affected you more than you'd like to admit, and now you're working overtime to regain their approval. Instead of making them see your value, it makes them see your need for validation. And the moment they sense that, the power shifts in their favor. Take Mike and Jessica, for example. Jessica had been seeing Mike casually when he suddenly pulled away. She felt rejected, but decided to focus on herself. Over the next few months, she hit the gym, started dressing better, and even got a promotion at work. Then, out of the blue, Mike texted her, "Hey, stranger, how have you been?" Jessica wanted Mike to see how much she had leveled up, so she immediately started flexing. She sent him pictures from her recent travels, talked about how many guys were chasing her, and made sure to mention her promotion. But instead of being impressed, Mike seemed unaffected. He responded casually, didn't seem particularly eager to meet up, and within a few days, he disappeared again. Why? Because Jessica's need to impress him showed that his opinion still mattered too much to her. Instead of letting her improvements speak for themselves, she overcompensated, making it obvious that she was still emotionally invested. If someone comes back after ignoring you, the best way to impress them is by not trying to impress them at all. True confidence comes from not needing their approval. If you've improved, let them notice it naturally. If they ask about your life, be brief but authentic. A simple response like, "I've been doing great, just busy with work and life," is more powerful than a long list of achievements meant to prove your worth. This approach does three things. 1. It keeps you in control. You don't need to prove anything to them. They're the ones who left, not you. 2. It creates mystery. When you don't overshare, they become curious and want to know more. 3. It shifts the power dynamic. Instead of seeking their validation, they now have to prove why they deserve to be back in your life. You don't need to impress someone who walked away from you. The fact that they came back already means they see your value. The real question is, do they still deserve access to you? Let your confidence speak for itself, and let them work for a place in your life, not the other way around. Mistake 5. Letting them back in. Too easily, when someone who ignored you returns, it's easy to let emotions take over. Maybe you miss them. Maybe you still have feelings for them. Or maybe you just want closure. The temptation to welcome them back with open arms is strong, especially if they say all the right things. But here's the mistake. Letting them back in too easily makes them take you for granted. Think about it. If someone disappears and then effortlessly walks back into your life without earning it, what lesson do they learn? That they can come and go as they please. If they ghosted you once and faced no consequences, what's stopping them from doing it again? Take Emily and Jake, for example. Jake had been inconsistent for months, sometimes texting Emily for weeks and then disappearing without a word. Eventually, he completely stopped reaching out. Emily was hurt, but decided not to chase him. 3 months later, Jake texted her, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." Emily was excited. She had missed him, so she replied quickly and welcomed him back, as if nothing had happened. She didn't ask why he disappeared, didn't set any boundaries. She just jumped back in, hoping this time would be different. At first, things seemed great. But within a few weeks, Jake started pulling away again, and before she knew it, he had disappeared once more. Why? Because Emily made it too easy. Jake never had to prove himself, never had to show consistency, and never had to face any consequences for his past actions. He knew she would always be there, so he didn't value her presence. If someone who ignored you wants back into your life, they need to earn it. That means don't rush into deep conversations just because they reached out. Keep things light at first. Set boundaries. If they ghosted you before, let them know that inconsistency isn't acceptable. Watch their actions, not their words. Anyone can say, "I missed you," but do they actually put in the effort to show it? A better response than instantly welcoming them back would be something like, "Oh hey, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. What made you reach out?" This keeps you in control and forces them to explain themselves. This approach does three things. 1. It prevents them from playing games with you. If they're serious, they'll put in real effort. 2. It increases your value. People respect what they have to work for. 3. It protects you from repeating the same cycle. If they were inconsistent before, they'll likely be inconsistent again, unless they prove otherwise. Your time and emotions are valuable. If someone left you once, they should prove they deserve another chance. Don't reward inconsistency. Make them show you, not just tell you, why they belong in your life. In today's world of instant gratification and endless options, people only value what they can't easily have. If someone ignored you and now wants back in, the way you handle it determines whether they respect you or see you as just another option. The biggest mistake you can make is letting them believe they can come and go without consequences. Remember this, you are the prize. If someone disappears and returns, they should be the ones proving why they deserve a second chance, not the other way around. True power lies in being willing to walk away. If they genuinely care, they'll step up. If they don't, they were never meant to stay in the first place. At the end of the day, your value isn't determined by who comes back. It's determined by who never leaves in the first place. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, comment and subscribe to Powerful Stoic Way. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on powerful insights like this. Stay strong, stay confident, and always remember, you set the standard for how people treat you.